This is Dave Wart with your Ag Market News Report for your weekly summary ending November the 9th. Cattle this week we had 4,321 compared to 2,164 last week and 5,908 a year ago. This week's market, steers and Holsteins were about $1 to $2 lower. Heifers were traded about $2 to $3 lower. Cows were $2 to $3 lower, and bulls were about $2 to $4 lower. Steers high choice and prime are 123.25 to 126. Choice 118.25 to 123, and selects were 110 to 115. Holstein steers high choice and prime are 105.50 to 107.50. Choice are $1 to 102.50. Selects were 94.25 to 98.25. Heifers high choice and prime 119 to 125.50. Choice were 114.25 to 118, and selects were 105.50 to 110.50. Cows breakers were 70 to 74. Boners were 68 to 71.75, and lean was 62.50 to 67.50. Average dressing bulls this week were 83.50 to 88. A few high dressing at 97 to 103.50. Feeder cattle, they were about this week about steady to $5 lower across the state. Steers, medium and large frame 130 to 500 pounds are 134 to 152. Little heavier cattle 5 to 700 pounds are 126 to 137. Number twos 3 to 500 pounds are 119 to 138. 5 to 700 pounders are 108 to 131. And a number of the dairy breeds, the medium and large frame threes 3 to 500 pounders were 78 to 87, and the heaviers 5 to 700 pounds are about 85 to 91. Heifers, medium and large frame 3 to 500 pounds are 123 to 134. 5 to 700 pounds are 115 to 127. And number twos 3 to 500 pounds are 108 to 128, with 5 to 700 pounds about 105 to 115. Bulls 3 to 500 pounds are 130 to 144. 5 to 700 pounds are 115 to 126. Number twos were 114 to 135 on the 3 to 5s, and the 5 to 700 pounds were 109 to 117. Holstein bull calves this week, there was 3,135 compared to 2,759 last week and 2,769 a year ago. Bull calves sold about steady to $5 lower. Heifers sold $5 to $10 higher. Number one Holstein bulls 95 to 120 pounds were 106 to 122. Lighter calves 80 to 90 pounders were 81 to 99. Number twos 95 to 120 pounds were 96 to 112. Number threes were 60 to 79. Number one Holstein heifers were 127 to 148. Number twos were 67 to 107. Hogs this week there was 1,160 compared to 948 last week and 1,609 a year ago. Compared to last week, barrels and gilts were about $3 to $5 higher, and sows were steady. Barrels and gilts 49 to 54% lean were 64.50 to 68. 45 to 50% lean was 61.25 to 65. 3 to 500 pound sows were 48.50 to 52.50. 5 to 700 pounds are 54.50 to 57. Boars were about 14.50 to 16.50 this week. We had a graded feeder pig sale this week. There was 205 head this week. US 1s and 2s 30 to 50 pounders were 65 to 70 cents. Number 2s 20 to 25 pounders were up to 210. 25 to 30 pounders were 140 to 155, and 40 to 70 pounders were 60 to 75. Sheep and lambs 1,675 compared to 1,259 last week and 1,544 a year ago. Compared to last week, lambs and sheep both sold about $5 to $10 higher. Choice lambs were running 40 to 60 pounders 122 to 132. 60 to 80 pounders 116 to 134. 80 to 110 pounds or 116 to 134. Good ewes were 78 to 94. Utilities were about 56 to 68. And goats this week we had 1,330 compared to 1,252 last week and 1,859 a year ago. Kid goats sold about $20 to $30 higher this week. Nannies and billies were about $10 to $20 higher. Goats are sold by the head with weights estimated. Selection 1 kids 40 to 80 pounders were $132 to $156. 80 to 100 pounders were $140 to $152. Selection 2s 40 to 60 pounders were about $100 to $120. 80 to 100 pounders were $120 to $140. Selection 3s 40 to 60 pounders were $78 to $90. Selection 1 nannies 80 to 130 pounders were $142 to $155. 130 to 200 pounders were $155 to $175. Selection 2's 80 to 130 pounders were $126 to $135. Selection 1 billies 100 to 150 pounders about $202 to $214 this week. 150 to 250 pounders were $224 to $234. Selection 2's 100 150 pounders were about $182 to $202, and heavier 150 to 250 pounders were $155 to $230. Selection 1 Weathers 100 to 150 pounders were $142 to $165, and heavier 150 to 250 pounders were about $192 to $252. This is Dave Wood for Ag Market News. Have a good week.